On paper, Roblox seems like a terrible platform to develop on. Roblox flatly takes all earnings by 30%, and then the Robux to dollars developer exchange rate makes a single Robux worth about a third of a cent compared to Roblox's normal charging rate of about a cent per Robux. The platform is oversaturated with garbage, and somehow your top competitors might be people with zero development talent or experience. The platform itself has private equity firms owning games. The Roblox studio engine can be pretty limited in comparison to genuine game engines like Unity or Unreal, and your number one market is probably children. In today's video, I'll be going over why developers choose to use Roblox over other engines and platforms despite its downsides. Along with that, make sure to subscribe since basically nobody is, and let's get straight into it. Let's go into a bit more detail about the cons of the Roblox platform first, starting with what most people see as the biggest one because it's based on money, the exchange rates. Currently with Roblox tax and the developer exchange rate, after earning 10,000 Robux, you will make 35 US dollars. But keep in mind that 10,000 Robux is taxed, so in reality, after earning 14,286 Robux, you get 10,000, which is then $35, compared to 10,000 Robux costing $100 and 14,286 Robux, costing about $143. So for every $143 Roblox makes, you would make $35, and after all of this, you would earn about 24% average of the total value of the Robux spent in your games, with Roblox essentially pocketing the 76%. The exception and only exception to this is Roblox 18+ games, which pay $54 per 10,000 Robux, meaning you actually pocket closer to 38% of the value of Robux spent in your game, assuming you own an 18+ experience like OnTap or the voice chat hangout games that are marked up in age group that started popping up pretty recently with the addition of voice chat. Now let's compare this to Steam, the number one game platform and store, and also the only other real viable choice for indie developers who want to make independent games. Compared to Steam, we can essentially flip the numbers, because Steam only takes 30% of total revenue up to $10 million, and although this is rare and really only applies to AAA titles, if you're exceptionally earning, they lower the cut to 25% or 20% past 50 million. But then we have the competition side of things. Roblox has a lot of competition, but so does every gaming platform. Being an indie developer, the hardest part is always going to be getting your game noticed. Roblox, Steam, doesn't matter, but there are a few advantages that Roblox has over Steam as far as competition goes. First of all, no initial developer fee. On Steam, you need to pay $100 up front, which is refunded to you if your game makes $1,000 in sales. But if you don't make that $1,000 in sales, you're not getting that money back. On Roblox, you can upload slop after slop, and while Roblox does have a 1,000 Robux publishing fee, this is only 1/10 of what Steam asked for since it's about 10 actual dollars, and is actually very easily bypassable. If you've had Roblox Premium for 2 months, you don't need to pay it. If you apply for a Roblox developer grant and get approved, you don't need to pay it. And if you make your game only for older audiences, you don't need to pay it, because this is really just a fee which labels your game as family friendly. Along with that, Roblox's biggest benefit compared to Steam games is the free server hosting. On Steam, most viral games that blow up are indie games in the, I guess, friend slop category. I hate using that term, but it's pretty much what the internet calls those games like Repo, Lethal Company, I guess A Long Walk too. But they use peer-to-peer hosting because they're meant to be played with friends, and those are most of the games that have blown up recently. However, that also means that an online game with hundreds to thousands of people connecting on it is not possible without large overhead and consistent monthly costs, limiting what you can do as an indie developer if you're not using Roblox and want to make a multiplayer game. Phantom Forces, for example, is one of the most consistent games on Roblox, but it's not one of the biggest, not even close anymore. And it averages around 2,000 to 3,000 players a day. Respectable, but it's far from its prime days, and it's far from the top of Roblox. Per month, it would cost them around $2,000 on average to host good servers for this many players. You can't make an FPS game on Steam because the overhead cost is way too high for an indie developer. It's why the FPS genre in general is oversaturated by AAA companies. Roblox has less limitation for massive online multiplayer games, and this is why Roblox takes such high upfront costs against developers. Now, this sucks for developers who want to make single-player games on Roblox, because it means you're essentially paying the Roblox cost for servers for a game that plays out single-player or peer-to-peer anyway, in a way that it really doesn't benefit you. You also have a much larger potential audience on Roblox, however. And a much more exploitable one. I already made a video on Roblox's gambling crisis and how bad it is, because honestly, yeah, a lot of developers weaponize weaponize gambling to try and get children addicted to their games. But as it is now, Roblox developers have a larger reach to children than Steam developers for a lot of reasons, which isn't bad just because of the preds. Well, I mean, technically it's still predatory, just not in the illegal way. Roblox games have become more manipulative in their ways of getting Robux out of children, with simulated gambling, addictive gameplay loops, and recently ads, as well as just like huge glowing buttons that incentivize you to spend money. And ads can actually now be watched in Roblox games for revenue, which is a pretty new feature. Roblox Rivals is a actually pretty fun game that I've played a few times, but a gross abuse of this feature is them making you watch 10 ads, 10 whole ads, for one game with a single gun that you want to try out. Back in my day, mobile games would make you watch one ad and then they'd give it to you for like 2 or 5 games or something like that, but 10 ads for one game is egregious. And the thing about Roblox in comparison to Steam is that it doesn't really have a quality filter. Steam used to not really have one. Steam really only had an NSFW filter for a few years before they started allowing NSFW content, porn games. And the funny thing about it is that Steam before then didn't have a quality filter. You could just upload anything on Steam and it didn't matter. And then they pretty much changed their terms at some point in 2017 when they got rid of the Steam greenlight, and they also got rid of a ton of companies that were making dog shit games like Digital Homicide, if you guys know anything like that. But Roblox allows you to pump out lower quality games than on Steam and still succeed. Even if it's not as bad as like a Digital Homicide game, they're still pretty much a lot lower quality than what you might find on Steam, and they can still succeed because you can target children who don't have very high quality standards. Do you think Kick a Lucky Block would do good on Steam? No, it wouldn't, because on Steam it costs money and it would have less access to children. On Roblox it's free and kids can play it and ask their parents for Robux to buy game passes, which make these developers money. And it's not just kids. Roblox has access to console and mobile players, where Steam only has access to PC and computer users. And along with that, the access to mobile players and mobile users in itself is more access to children, because most of the kids on Roblox are playing on iPads anyway. And the platform being oversaturated with garbage doesn't mean much when you can just as easily pump out slop games that abuse certain key ideas and concepts until one of them blows up. On Steam, your only real way of advertising a new game is through content creators, and the problem with that is because the audiences are older and the content creators are the ones that are pretty much doing the advertising for you, your game needs to be better. Roblox kind of does the job of advertising for you to a certain extent, because Roblox has their own algorithm, which is more favorable for developers than Steam's, and Roblox also just has a built-in player base that you can kind of tap into by posting your games on Roblox. Along with that, the additive is cheaper and more effective than advertising a game yourself through manual advertisement like YouTube release trailers. Also takes less effort on Roblox. And if you're an indie developer, you can't afford to run ad campaigns, let's be real. To advertise your indie game, you pretty much just need to hope big YouTuber or streamer plays your game and clip farms on it for it to get popular. Buckshot Roulette, Lethal Company, Repo all blew up like this, and most of these games started on itch.io before moving to Steam once they got bigger. But if they didn't get the recognition they did from content creators, then the games would pretty much be completely irrelevant because that was their only form of advertisement. Roblox does much of the hard work for you because the algorithm works for you. Steam's algorithm is much less forgiving and beneficial of new players than the Roblox one, and Roblox has a built-in player base for you to tap into, which basically means you have a potential pool of millions of players, which is why games like Grow a Garden are so huge. With an actual indie game, you need to build your own community, and in many cases, Roblox games have better longevity without updates than Steam games, especially since a vast majority of recent games are peer-to-peer games and not large multiplayer games. There's much more of a need for updates. Playing Lethal Company now when it hasn't been updated in a few years can be boring without mods because it feels like the same thing every time, especially in the early game, which then, just turns off people from playing it because they don't want to play early game Lethal Company. That's baby shit. But at least with some Roblox games on Roblox, like Rogue Lineage for example, or ABA, the simplistic gameplay loop is made up for with PvP content that's different every time due to the nature of fighting different people on different classes or characters every time. Every fight with another player is a new interaction you can enjoy, and it doesn't always feel like the same thing because you're not always fighting the same person or the same enemies with the same patterns. So in comparison, a Steam indie game can net you much larger gains from a single quality project than a Roblox game can, potentially millions like Lethal Company and Buckshot Roulette as huge outliers, but those are huge outliers. Even big simulators on Roblox with thousands of players are out-earned by massive indie hits like Lethal Company and Buckshot Roulette, but that's not the exception, and that's not what you should be aiming for because the chances of that are tiny. But Roblox allows you to pump out lower quality games with much lower quality and much lower risk to you because you can put out more games faster with much lower upfront costs. It also takes less effort and skill to do, making Roblox the ideal solution for devs with poor original thinking skills. Overall, it just depends on what kind of developer you are. Ambitious indie developer with a good original-ish idea, honestly. For these friend slop games, I hate to call them that, haven't been the most original recently, but they are something captivating. And if you can do that, then make your game on Steam. And if you can afford it, definitely make it on Steam if you think it'll do well. If you're a money-hungry man with little skill and even less ambition, but you want money, then Roblox is definitely the way to go. As a solo indie dev, the risk is much higher to match the reward on Steam, but as a Roblox developer, the reward potential is always so much higher than any amount of risk you could be taking for a simple game meant to go viral without much thought, because the best performing games on Roblox are all slop, and they all had very little risk put into them anyway because the upfront cost and investment is super low on making them. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, make sure to subscribe and check out my second channel, Raycon Live, for non-Roblox content, non-Roblox videos every Saturday and Tuesday, usually. And also, I stream on Twitch with Facecam now. I'm gonna be live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from now on. So I won't be live this Friday, the day that this video is coming out, but I will be live Wednesday and Friday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also buy a YouTube membership to hear my monthly song covers, including the one dropping next week, because new song cover next week. Hope you guys enjoy that one. My audio mixing skills have gotten much better. And along with that, shout out to my members of Tier 2 or higher: Philip, Akiosugi Kuni, Zerksky, Fun Guns, Crypto, Broccoli, Delusional Mo, Suited Wendigo, love you, mwah, Reshi, Theo's Banners, Corin, Captain Frost, Jawa, Immature Dev, Quite Delectable Wardrobe, and Drizzy Drake Fan. I love you all, have an amazing day, and goodbye.